Against the Browns, the Chiefs were able to generate a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Let's look at several plays throughout this game where the Chiefs generated pressure and see if we can find explanations for how they were managing to do this, what they did that worked so well to pressure the Browns so frequently. Let's start with 10:06 to go in the first quarter. At this point, the Chiefs are up 7-0, and the Browns have a 2nd and 12 around their own 40-yard line. Let's watch the play once through, and then we'll break down what happened. Here, Winston takes the shotgun snap and sees pressure pretty quickly, and then the pocket ends up collapsing around him for the sack. As you'll notice, a flag was thrown on this play. It ended up being called illegal contact on Joshua Williams, so the sack was negated. There was a 5-yard penalty, and the Browns got a first down. But let's look into this pressure and what ended up happening here. So the Browns are in 11 personnel. They got one running back and one tight end. And the Chiefs have matched, actually looking like they are in nickel. So they've got 5 defensive backs, 3, 4, 5. And their 2 linebackers here are Tranquil and Bolton. So you'll see here, they're kind of mugging up. Right here at this point, they have 6 at the line. So the way that the Browns end up trying to block these 6, they're going to take the right tackle to block Tranquil. The right guard is going to get Dana. The center is blocking here. Left guard for Chris Jones. And the left tackle for Leo Chenot. Nick Bolton, if he comes, will be the responsibility of the running back. So what ends up happening at the snap is that Dana drops off, and he's going to play underneath zone coverage in case there's any route that he can undercut over there. So that's going to end up leaving their right guard essentially blocking air on this play. He ends up doubling and helping on Charles Omenihu, but remember, no one on the line was blocking Nick Bolton. So Bolton comes through first and is picked up pretty well by the running back, but fairly deep in the pocket, enough that it causes Winston to try to find an escape route. He's not comfortable standing back there. Nothing's really collapsed on him yet, but seeing Bolton flash and then being taken by Chubb right there has caused Winston's eyes to come down, and he's looking at the rush now. And we're not at all at a place yet where receivers are going to be breaking open. He tries to get out, and Bolton sticks with him. Chris Jones then sees him and wheels around. You can see he kind of comes around, and they end up being able to collapse the pocket on him and bring him down for the sack. The Browns defenders or receivers never really had an opportunity to get open, but even then they were pretty well covered throughout this process. The illegal contact call on Joshua Williams, honestly, is a little weak to me. Not because I don't think it was illegal contact. I think it's just because this kind of stuff is at least I should say not consistently called. He first contacts him within 5 yards and kind of rides with him through the route. I'm not really sure how refs determine when that is and isn't okay. Usually if someone initiates the contact without kind of riding them down the field, they will call it. But I feel like we see many instances of them riding receivers down the field, even though technically you're not supposed to contact a receiver after 5 yards. So kind of hard to say. I feel like the officiating on this kind of thing is quite inconsistent. But it was called that time, and so the sack did not end up counting. So here we can see the blitz over here. Oh, sorry. I think I called Turk Wharton Omenihu. It looked like a 90 from that deep view, but that's actually Turk Wharton. So here, again, the way that they block this, Tranquil blocked here. The guard takes Dana. The center takes Turk. The guard here takes Chris Jones, and the tackle takes Leo Chenot. And so when Bolton comes through, the C's are going to part for him, and Nick Chubb is going to be responsible for blocking him. So you can see as Bolton comes through, oh, there's a little bit of like a play action there too, but Winston's not comfortable, right? Seeing, even though there's some degree of Bolton being held up by Chubb, Winston's just not comfortable in there. And it looks like the other thing that might have helped, and I should have pointed this out from this area, is that there isn't a lot of room for him laterally to escape. I mean, I guess he could have really dropped out of the pocket and escaped, but Tranquil and Chanel did a pretty good job of getting enough depth that Winston, for whatever reason, didn't feel comfortable escaping out of the back of the pocket. So then when he started moving around, he was looking for a gap up in the pocket to move, but the Chiefs had collapsed the pocket pretty well. And look at Tranquil backtracking to prevent that from happening either. So this pressure, if you were looking for a cause, really came on the heels of a good blitz that when Bolton came down the middle, it just made Winston uncomfortable enough that he wasn't able to go through his reads, and give Chris Jones credit for collapsing the pocket. Oftentimes, not often, almost always, you need more than one guy doing a good job and collapsing things in order for a pass rush to work. So Bolton's initial rush did well, but everyone kind of held their ground and moved things in, which resulted in a sack that ultimately didn't count. Now this is later in the same drive. The Browns now have 3rd and 6 with 8:18 to go in the first quarter. They're still down 7-0, trying to convert a first down here. Let's take a look at the play, and then we'll break down what happened. Here, Winston takes the snap and feels pressure, tries to escape to his left, and Karlaftis tracks him down for a sack, ultimately forcing a 4th down. The penalty flag you see on the ground is for illegal formation. They felt that Jermaine Ifedi was lined up too deep in the backfield. Technically, your helmet is supposed to break the belt of the center, and so they felt he was too far back and called illegal formation. But let's kind of break down what the Chiefs did here. This is another blitz. This time they've got Justin Reed walked up right here, and Jaden Hicks is going to end up blitzing from the slot. Bolton is walked up, he ends up not blitzing, and they do drop Mike Dana to get underneath the wide receiver. So see, they do blitz here, but the actual cause of Winston escaping is the great edge rush from Karlaftis and from Chris Jones. And mainly Karlaftis, he really gets a good jump around the edge and causes Winston problems. They do push him around the edge, but Karlaftis' pursuit is really something here. And as Winston escapes, Karlaftis comes back and tracks him down and gets the sack. But Chris Jones, again, does a great job with his rush over here. Again, you kind of need multiple people doing this, because when Jones collapses here, instead of it just limits the options of where Winston can go. You know, the two collapsing there, they almost just ended up with the sack right there, but he wasn't able to move left at all. He had to come up and around. And Karlaftis was able to track him down. In this situation, Karlaftis won so well that even if Winston had run left, maybe Karlaftis would have just run him down there too. It's kind of hard to say. The other thing I wanted to note about this play is the play of Shamari Connor. So Mike Dana does a good job right here coming out, and his job when he pops out during a zone blitz is to stay underneath a quick throw opportunity, right? Winston honestly doesn't even seem to be looking in that direction, but Dana comes down under there, and then watch as Winston starts scrambling to his left. Watch Shamari Connor, who's following Judy, as Winston starts coming up to the left, and Judy gets out of a position where he would be in Connor's area, and it would be harder to make that throw for somebody who's escaping this way. Connor then doubles back and comes covers over here, which is Winston's only option. So Connor right here probably caused the sack to happen by preventing any opportunity of a throw over here. If Connor had continued over with Judy, then there would be an opportunity for a throw out in front of this wide receiver. But Connor's decision to double back was great here and prevented a throw and allowed Karlaftis to track Winston down and get a sack. So this play, even though a blitz was involved, really the edge rush is what was the strong part of this play. So again, the people that are going to come, Karlaftis, Reed, O'Menahue, and Jones, and then late Jaden Hicks is going to come in to make the fifth guy on the blitz. But see, as they come in, it's not like they got a free rusher. Jaden Hicks was actually picked up pretty well by the running back. Reed was picked up. It was that Karlaftis and Jones won around the edge, and that's really what caused this. Karlaftis with his pursuit did a great job, and then real props to Chamari Connor for making a throw here impossible. You can see Jameis pump fake here. He wanted to make a throw, had nothing, and the Chiefs collect a sack. We now jump ahead to 4:28 to go in the first quarter. The Browns are still down 7-0, and they're facing a 3rd and 10 at their own 30-yard line. So let's run this play real quick, and then we'll talk about what happened. Winston drops back and feels pressure. He escapes up the right and throws a nice pass to Jerry Jeudy for a 17-yard gain and a first down. So the part that I'm interested in for the purposes of this segment is the pressure and how the Chiefs were creating it. So this time, again, they've got a lot up at the line, right? They have their 4 down linemen. Nick Bolton's up at the line, and remember that whenever the Chiefs have slot corners and condensed splits, they're always threats to go. They're always threats to blitz. So, and McDuffie is at least trying to create the impression that he might be blitzing on this play with his motion. McDuffie ends up not blitzing. Bolton ends up not blitzing. This ends up just being a 4-man rush. But this is the kind of rush that kind of tells you what happens when Chris Jones is left one-on-one. So because Bolton was mugging up at the line, if you notice, they've kind of assigned the left guard to him. So they're not able to double Chris Jones. A lot of times they slide protection toward him, but since the left guard's accounting for Bolton and then the left tackle's over here, center is at Dana, the right guard, Chris Jones, the right tackle, George Karlaftis. So one of the purposes of mugging Bolton up there was to give Chris Jones a one-on-one. And look at what he does with his one-on-one. He just dispatches the right guard and gets right into the backfield. And Jameis ends up coming up because the B gap is vacated. And that's one thing that, remember, we talked in a different segment, we were talking about the run defense and how Chris Jones kind of freelances a little bit with run defense. And that also is the case in pass defense. In fact, I would say even more so. Chris Jones has been a lot more disciplined of a run defender recently, but he has the green light in these passing situations to scout his matchup and also to kind of rush as he pleases. So here he doesn't maintain rush lane integrity, but notice how the guys rushing around him, Dana and Karlaftis, are used to this. So as Jones kind of breaks in and gives a lane, look at Dana loop around, look at Karlaftis loop around. They're ready to kind of pick up for that vacated area, and they both end up actually getting a hit on Winston. So Jones kind of just fires through. He gets the one-on-one matchup against a guard, kind of destroys any opportunity of like a standard pass from the pocket. And Karlaftis and Dana do a good job of coming in and pressuring, but Jerry Jeudy managed to get open against Joshua Williams, and he makes a nice catch, a nice throw from Winston, and they end up getting a first down. And that kind of shows the importance. That's the The secondary has to hold up its end of the bargain. Even with a good pass rush, if guys are running open, you're going to get a first down. And so that's what happened here on this play. We can see again, Bolton really showing blitz, McDuffie showing blitz. And so in their protection, they end up assigning this guy to Bolton, which leaves Chris Jones then one-on-one with the right guard. And just look at his rush. He gets him back. And here's where he kind of vacates his gap, right? But look at the immediate reaction. Dan is coming. Karlaftis is coming. They're used to this. Chris Jones gets the green light to do these kinds of things, and his teammates are used to compensating for it. But nice play by Winston and nice route by Judy to get open and get a first down. So this instance was the 4-man pass rush was getting pressure. But as you see, in order for that to really come home, the back end has to hold up its end of the bargain too. All right, we're now into the second quarter. There's 14:23 to go in the second quarter. The Browns are still down 7-0, and they have a 3rd and 5 at their own 35-yard line. Let's run this play, and then we can discuss what happened. So here the Chiefs are showing it 2 deep. Winston drops back to throw, and as the pocket collapses, he escapes to his right and gets tracked down from behind again by George Karlaftis, his second sack of the game. So let's look at the details of this pass rush. In this situation, the Chiefs only rushed 4, so this is just their top 4. The thing that I don't really understand is that the Browns decided to slide protection toward Mike Dana instead of Chris Jones, leaving him one-on-one. And if you see here, this is a nice group rush here. You see Karlaftis and Jones collapsing the pocket on Winston's right. And O'Menahue actually does a really good job of creating pressure on Winston's left. So all 3 of these guys are winning their individual matchups, while Dana's holding up pretty decently against his one-on-one. Then as Winston escapes to his right, look at the coverage. He just doesn't have anywhere to go with the ball. This honestly, if you're in Winston's position, might have been a time to run. Because he's got nothing, and by trying to buy time, unfortunately Jameis just doesn't have the greatest awareness. You can't be kind of jogging around looking for somebody while you have someone like Karlaftis tracking you down from behind. That guy's motor is relentless. In this position, when you've gotten out and you don't have a throw, I feel like you tuck that ball and go. At least try to get something. But instead, you can see him moving laterally, trying to find something, and he gets tracked down from behind for the sack. You can see here, I wonder if part of the reason, now that I see it from this angle, they probably weren't able to double Chris Jones because of how wide he aligned. This is probably intentionally, this is good alignment from Chris Jones, making it really hard for the center to make it all the way over there for a double team. So instead, he helps out over here on Dana. So I shouldn't have blamed the Browns. This is Chris Jones' alignment that allows him to get a one-on-one here. This is very intentional from him. So here, look at how much these 2 are walking back their assignments, and then Karlaftis too is collapsing it. This is a great sign for the Chiefs' 4-man pass rush. If we can have 3 effective rushers here, and this right here is where the flag was thrown. This is a holding penalty, as he's grasping Chris Jones as he's trying to pull the other way. And Karlaftis takes Winston down from behind. So Chiefs fans should be extremely encouraged by this performance from the 4-man pass rush, and by the fact that the secondary in some of these situations is holding up in man coverage on the back end. This is how you get sacks. I know Mike Lombardi, who now will be GM over at the University of North Carolina, he said something that I found to be interesting. I remember hearing him say once that counterintuitively, turnovers are often a reflection of your pass rush because the quarterback has to get the ball off quickly and makes bad throws. And sacks are often a reflection of your coverage because you get that pressure initially, yeah, but if someone comes open, you get the throw off. But in these cases, when you have tight coverage, that's when someone like Karlaftis can backtrack and get a sack, ultimately ending the drive. Now we move ahead to 7:41 to go in the fourth quarter. The Browns have a third down at the Chiefs' 39-yard line. They're down 21-0 at this point, and so are probably in 4-down territory if the Chiefs just get a stop right here. Let's run the play and then let's break it down. So the Chiefs end up mugging up the line. Charles Omenihu gets around the corner and strip sacks Jameis Winston. Winston falls on the ball, but they end up losing significant yardage back to around the 50-yard line. So let's break down what happens, because this is a very fun-looking play from the start. Defensively, again, the Chiefs have really mugged up the line of scrimmage. So there's 6 on the line right here. The 2 added people are Justin Reed down here and Nick Bolton. But as you'll see, Reed falls back out and Hicks comes up to take his place. Then at the snap, you'll have Bolton drop out, Wharton drop out, and then Karlaftis fakes that he's coming in and he drops out too. So they've got the protection all set up to account for Bolton and Wharton. So I will say the center reacts pretty quickly to Wharton dropping out and shifts over to help out on the blitzing Jaden Hicks. The guard and the tackle are unoccupied, though, the ones that were supposed to be looking at Bolton and Karlaftis, respectively. In addition to all that, we also get a late slot blitz from Roland Wallace. So the Chiefs, through all of that, end up sending only 4, but it ends up being 2 linemen, Omenihu and Jones on the end. There's Jones, there's Omenihu, and 2 safeties. Or I guess Roland Wallace is a nickel corner, but a slot corner and a safety. 2 defensive backs and 2 linemen, but it's still a 4-man rush. It's a simulated pressure. And they've got a defensive end and a defensive tackle out in coverage, and Bolton drops back too. As you can see, they're kind of just playing in what looks like a kind of quarter shell defense. Unclear whether this is supposed to be 2 deep or 4 deep. It's always tough to tell with Joshua Williams because he tends to carry people deep. So it's possible that Williams is supposed to stay down for this and Cook's responsibilities here. But it's also possible that this is like a 1, 2, 3, 4. But when Williams is not the person to use just as the judge because he tends to carry people far deeper than he's supposed to. But anyway, this is about the pass rush. As crazy and exotic as all of this was, kind of moving people around, this was a win in just an old-fashioned manner. Charles Omenihu kind of dekes inside initially, swats hands and gets around, and does a great job of swiping at the ball. This is so encouraging that Charles Omenihu is playing at this high of a level so early. This is only his 2nd game back from the ACL. And the hope was that maybe he could play at this level in the playoffs, or if the Chiefs are fortunate enough to get back to the Super Bowl. But the fact that he's already here is such a good sign. I mean, look at this. Quick win around the edge, swat the ball out, and the loss of yardage here made it impossible, at least in Cleveland's mind, for them to go for it. So they ended up having to settle for a punt. Here again is the win. I mean, this is just one man dominating a play. Look at him get Ifedi's hands off of him, swipe the hands, get around, swat at the ball coming around, forcing the fumble. Unfortunately, Hicks did a good job trying to get in and get that ball, but Winston used strong hands to grab onto it. Again, this sack, I mean, for all the exotic pressure and everything, this sack was a one-on-one win from an edge rusher. A great sign for the Chiefs' 4-man pass rush going forward. We jump ahead to 4:12 to go in the third quarter. The Browns are still down 21-0, and they have the ball first down and 10 yards to go at the Chiefs' 49-yard line. Let's check out the play here, and then we will break it down. So Winston drops back to pass here and gets pressure right up in his face. He tries to escape, and then the second wave takes him out. And the Browns lose about 13 yards on the sack. So let's break down what happened here. So the Chiefs pass rush, in this case, they just rush 4. There is nothing exotic, nothing crazy that they do here. The one thing that they do with their alignment is they have Turk Wharton right up against the center, then Chris Jones head up against the guard, and Karlaftis head up against the tackle. So it creates a situation where they can't double Chris Jones because they're each lined up here. If they tried to bring the center over, he's lined up head up with Turk Wharton. Turk Wharton goes straight into him at the snap, preventing him from helping out. So they end up getting Chris Jones one-on-one with the right guard, and they have the back try to help and chip on his way out with the route. I don't know that I've ever seen a defensive tackle get chipped before, but Chris Jones just walks the guard right back into Jameis Winston's lap. And at this point, he's still dropping back in his drop. He's trying to find someone to throw now. Judy is breaking across the field, but Bolton's underneath it. So he doesn't have a quick throw. And when his guard gets into his lap, his eyes go down. He's trying to find some way to escape. And this is where Wharton manages to get off of his block and has just like a clean runway as Winston spins off to come after Winston, who sees him at the last second and ducks down into the sack. So the coverage held up for long enough. If you see, no one is like running open clearly, but by the time Chris Jones had gotten his blocker into Winston, there was no throw coming off now. Winston was just looking for a lane, and great job by Turk being the secondary pass rusher and cleaning it up. Again, we can see their alignment here. Look at how they're head up against the center, guard, tackle. They can't double team Chris Jones. The running back tries to chip on the way out, has no effect whatsoever. Jones just walks his man right back, and then Winston tries to get around. Jones gets to the other side, and Wharton is there to clean up for the sack. Again, another big play just by the 4 down linemen. When the Chiefs are able to get pressure with 4 like this, it's a whole different ball game, and they were able to do that consistently through this. We jump ahead to 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 1st and 10 at their own 42-yard line, still down 21-7. Let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break it down. Here, Bolton comes firing through as this Tranquil off the edge and get a quick sack of Jameis Winston. So let's take a look at how this happened. The Chiefs have 5 lined up here at the line of scrimmage. They've got their down lineman and Drew Tranquil. And then watches at the motion. So Bolton initially is standing up closer to the A-gap. And then watch the A-gap being the gap between the center and the guard. So this gap right here in between the two of them. So he's kind of looking to be over there. Then he drops back, and right at the snap, he runs right toward the B gap, which is the gap between the guard and the tackle. And that the C's part for him. At the same time, Tranquil is able to get across off the edge unencumbered. He runs right by the tight end. And interestingly, the guard is coming out trying to help out. We'll try to see if we can figure out why that happened. And then Winston sees the unblocked Bolton flying through, and the running back has no chance of getting up there to impede Bolton's progress. He just kind of tosses him aside. And Winston spins right into Tranquil, so the two of them combine to bring him down. So you can kind of see how we got here based on the alignment again. The Chiefs seem to really be messing with alignments in the front this week, and it really worked out for them. So the first thing that's interesting is that watch Chris Jones at the snap. Right now, he is aligned on the outside shoulder of the guard, right? So as he takes the snap, he comes in and comes up over the center. So he moves up over the center, and at the same time, Wharton comes into the guard. Now, we know the tackle has to block Karlaftis, but it feels like this is almost like the equivalent of setting a pick here. So Wharton and Jones are occupying the center and guard, and the tackle has to worry about Karlaftis. So it almost creates necessarily a void for Bolton to be able to run through. And them really intentionally look at Wharton attacking the inside shoulder of the guard. Intentionally moving the guard inside just widens this gap. So Wharton's kind of playing this way. Karlaftis is playing that way. Bolton has a huge gap, and the running back just can't get there fast enough in pass protection based on how quickly Bolton timed this. Look at him. He's ready to go as the ball is being snapped. So he's coming with a ton of momentum. The back is not able to get there in time. And then on this side, look at Dana's alignment. Mike Dana's lined up on the outside shoulder of the tackle. And watch him come in and just throw his shoulder right into the tackle. Like, there's no way for the tackle to come out and try to block here. Dana's coming right into him. So it's almost like Dana, Jones, and Wharton kind of occupied the necessary blockers for Bolton and Tranquil to just come off free. And Bolton timed his blitz so well that he just fired through. Tranquil was right there to help clean it up, and the Chiefs got a big sack on the blitz. We now move ahead to 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. The Browns have a 3rd and 15 at about their 37-yard line. Still down 21-7. So let's take a look at this play, and then we'll break down the pass rush. Chiefs blitz. Initially it seems picked up, but then Winston's forced to scramble. Can't get a throw off as Karlaftis comes and closes, and he ends up just tossing it out of bounds. It ended up being called intentional grounding. We can look at that throw one more time. This ended up being called intentional grounding because he didn't get the ball to the line of scrimmage. If you all remember, the rule is that once you're outside the tackle box, you don't have to throw it at a receiver anymore. But even if you throw it away, you have to throw it away past the line of scrimmage. The exception being that if the contact or hit from a defensive player caused the ball to go short, and the refs determined that they didn't think that that was the case at this time. But let's get back to the pass rush. So the Chiefs again kind of mug it up. Justin Reed walks all the way down to the edge. Bolton comes and walks down, and they end up blitzing 5. Bolton kind of comes in and shows blitz, and then he backs off and ends up guarding the running back. So the Chiefs blitz 5. But if you see initially, the blitz is picked up okay, right? Like, they're definitely collapsing the pocket, but Winston has a second to survey before things get crazy. And this is where the back end is so important, that the coverage is really great in this scenario. So as Winston drops back, he's got nowhere to go with the ball, and his escape gives Karlaftis an angle. And look at how quickly Karlaftis closes here. He closes so fast on Winston and gets him to throw that ball away. But it's not like the Chiefs had a free runner. They did collapse the pocket very well, and this is just a testament to how well their pass rushers played today. They kind of, you see Karlaftis coming in, Jones, Dana, and Amenahue all like starting to get pressure. and that's enough to cause Winston to bail, which gave Karlaftis the angle to come get him, force the incomplete pass. You can see it again from the end zone view. Bolton drops off, but you see the pressure does end up coming. Look at Omenihu getting in his face, Chris Jones pushing back, and then Karlaftis detaching, and really quite a great close by Karlaftis. And you can see the trajectory of the ball doesn't seem to change a ton, which is probably why the refs determined they didn't think that Karlaftis' hit was the reason this pass didn't go to the line of scrimmage. So it's called intentional grounding, but another great pressure, this time on a blitz, but it was really just a nice collapse. It was more than the play design. The pass rush was able to collapse the pocket once. We have a 1st and 10 now at the 2-minute warning. The Chiefs are up 21-7, and the Browns have it first down at their own 36-yard line. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's in the game now for Jameis Winston, and the main reason I wanted to show this play is because it's hard to explain. So let's take a look at it and see if we can understand what the heck was going on. So DTR is taking the snap from the shotgun, and Chris Jones comes free through the B gap and forces a throwaway. I have no idea how that happens. I mean, the simple answer is there's some mistake in the protection, but I don't know who is responsible for setting the protections when Dorian Thompson-Robinson's not in the game. I mean, if that was the intended goal of the protection, that's a stupid protection to set. But I don't know. I'm not sure what was going on. Let's take a look, though. The Chiefs look at the snap have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up at the line. So how they get accounted for is going to be important. It looks like the tight end. So the tight end seems to be responsible for Mike Dana, but it seems like the left tackle thinks he's responsible for Mike Dana as well, which is probably where the confusion starts here. The left guard clearly seems to think he's responsible for Nick Bolton. And the center is helping over to his right as well. I mean, these two drop. So if we imagine the left guard is responsible for Bolton, then the center would be responsible, then right guard, right tackle. So it's possible that this was the setup. It was right tackle, right guard, then the center, left guard Bolton, but then you'd say left tackle Chris Jones and tight end Dana. It's probably what the protection was supposed to be. And so it looks like the error is on the left tackle here, thinking that he has Dana when actually he has Chris Jones. And so the C's part here, Chris Jones is right in Thompson-Robinson's face, and he has no chance at all. All right, so let's see it from the end zone view and see if this makes sense. So what we're hypothesizing here is the protection was set up as so. Here, center to Omenihu, left guard to Bolton, left tackle to Jones, tight end to Dana. And everybody else seems to be operating that way. Here comes the left guard. Look, the center's looking over at Omenihu, as is the guard. These two drop out, so it becomes difficult to say who thought they were going to get him. Omenihu kind of moves over to the side, so he gets the attention of many. But definitely it seems like these two are expecting kind of this way. He's going out, so I'm guessing it's his fault. Ifedi's fault that he was supposed to block Chris Jones, but wow. I mean, it's shades of the Super Bowl when on a third down, Chris Jones came flying free. I mean, he should never be unblocked. And he came and absolutely blew up this play. So really the kind of story of the pass rush in this game was multifaceted. You know, Obviously, Spagnuolo is going to have his good blitzes, and, we hope that will continue throughout the year as it has for his time in Kansas City. But the encouraging thing was that it seems like consistently Chris Jones and Charles Omenihu are going to win one-on-one matchups. They're going to win at a good enough rate to be problems. And if George Karlaftis can also have his share of wins like he did in this game, suddenly this is really a formidable pass rush. So that will be the thing to see. Omenihu coming back seems to make this a plus pass rush, and the question is whether Karlaftis can play like he did today. If that's the case, it'll be really scary. Also have to add the assist from the back end. The back end was much stronger in coverage, and I think that led to a couple of the sacks that we saw, those backtrack sacks, the longer developing sacks, because there wasn't anywhere to get the ball out. So if the coverage plays really well, you'll see a little bit of those longer sacks as well. But this was a very promising game if you want to look at the underlying ideas behind the pass rush. That I think the foundation is there with Omenihu and with Chris Jones, and the question is how much help they're going to get, both from the back end and from guys like Karlaftis to win their share to really push this into an elite pass rush.